What's good, Retcon fam? It is your boy Trey.
It's your boy Jay.
Yeah, we're coming to you today. Special occasion. We're gonna have our spoiler review of The Flash. So my review went up on Thursday night. I know you had a
Yeah,
chance to see it over the weekend. I actually seen it twice since then. I think you have too.
yeah, yeah.
What,
I have two
what, were-
times.
what were your initial thoughts?
So first of all, I like to get into your review, which was very well. It was. I appreciate everything you said. Having said that, I think you were very merciful with your grade, a 9.2 out of 10.
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? So I went to see it again, and yeah, my grade dropped.
Okay,
I'm between like a 8.2 and a 8.5 somewhere in there.
okay.
Yeah,
So
like an 8.2, 8.5.
because when I first watched it, I watched it with the family on Saturday,
Yeah,
and I realized that my whole mind frame, I think we chatted up about it when I first
yeah,
watched it. I was of a comic book mind frame, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
when I watched it with my father on Father's Day, I was just like, okay, let me just forget all I know about comic books and let me just watch the movie.
yeah,
And it's not as harsh as it was the first time, but it's still a lot of misses, right?
okay.
Like, um, I definitely agree with you what you said about the CGI. Like, let's just start
Terrible,
with that. Like,
terrible.
like what is up with that? You had great points. I really don't know if I can speak more to it about the suits being CGI, right? I know what I'm probably going to sound like to a lot of the comic book community. Are people out there who claim that anybody who loves Zack Snyder is toxic and doesn't care about anything else that isn't Zack Snyder related. But think about the Flash suit that he had in the Justice League. It
Yeah,
was practical and it looked good,
yeah,
right? And then
yeah,
you got this CGI suit in the Flash, and I just couldn't get past that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, the one thing I do like about the suit is just like in the this is where my comic book mind frame comes in. In the comic books, when the DC did the New 52, they did have Flash with his suit incorporate lightning streaks, almost like lightning stitching in his suit
yeah,
anytime he ran. And I did appreciate that. Now that was great. But just out of everything other than that, yeah, the suit could have been way better. I don't
yeah,
know why they just I guess I do know why. Maybe they're trying to distance themselves from the Zack Snyderverse as far as not having wear that same suit in the
yeah,
Flash movie. You know, because we know, of course, Pete Sanford and James Gunn are running the show now, and this
yeah,
was already in the works before they took over. But the Flash suit, yeah, I was not 100% a fan of it at all.
yeah,
The Batman's right. So first of all, Ben Affleck, love him as Batman. Michael Keaton, I mean, you can't say nothing bad about that. He is the Batman, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, you were on point with that, but why they still can't turn his head? See, I had that same question when I first saw it, and when I saw it with my father. The dude, it's the shoulder turn for me. Like, man, come on now. I've never seen Batman in the comic books being not able to turn his neck. Like, I mean, that's to me, that's a hindrance when you're trying to fight somebody, right? I mean,
yeah,
you couldn't tell because he was kicking tail in the movie.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I adored the fight scenes though. The fight scenes were awesome. Um, but now we can talk about this. Let's get into the multiverse sequence, right? Where
mhm,
it's revealed, but you called this out, the other Flash, there had to have been some type of dark element to him, with all the
mhm,
yellow he was wearing. It wasn't Reverse Flash. That was disappointing to me, but Dark Flash was good enough. That was good.
yeah,
Let's get into the multiverse, right? We see the different Earths. We see the Superman of the 50s, the TV show. I appreciate the Jay Garrick cameo there. That was dope. Like that opened my mind to like, yo, like that actually be good. They should expand on that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, but CGI still played a hindrance in that as well. Like it was really watery kind of almost. And he was in the Chrono Bowl, right? Was that what they're
Yeah,
calling it?
he was in the Chrono Ball. So the one thing I'll say this, so Andy
Yeah,
Muschietti, who directed the movie,
yeah,
he
yeah.
said that when Flash was in the Chrono Ball, it was meant to look like that because it was like
Right.
his perspective was supposed whatever. I'm okay with that. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just it to me, it takes me back to like Christian Bale's Batman, right? When he had
Okay.
that voice after the fact, Christopher Nolan was like, oh, well, he has a thing in his helmet that changes. It's like, well, explain that to me in the movie. Let me know
Right.
if it looks funny in the movie, so I'm not taken out of it when I see it that way. But
Right. It was no
other
setup.
than, but the rest of the CGI, bro,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, this movie cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make, and it was like all of the CGI was bad.
Right.
All of the CGI was bad. Like
Right.
even if we go back to the beginning, like the babies in the
The
beginning,
babies. Yes.
they all looked horrible. The babies were scary looking, man. They
That
look,
might have been on purpose because your boy Andy, the director, he's done both It's right,
yeah,
and then he's done horror movies like Mama.
yeah,
I mean, maybe that
yeah,
wasn't on purpose, but you say that, I'm just thinking like, well, he is a horror movie director.
bro. It was horrible looking. It was like the CGI was distracting to me. It was
Yeah,
Like even like when they had the two Ezras, you could always tell who was actually being filmed and who had the CGI face. And
right,
I'm like, man, I liked it better back in the day when it was like split screen and they couldn't cross
right.
over. It's like it
Simple.
looked awful, bro.
It
It
was
looked
simple.
awful. It
It
looked
was,
awful.
I
It was awful.
I could have may have forgiven the CGI had everything up until the multiverse scene. Okay, because obviously
Yes.
I'm sorry, Christopher Reeves, obviously, may he rest in peace. He's not around to actually film it. So I get that. Like I get that. And
Yeah.
and the kudos to that nod, right? Let me ask you, what did you think about Nicolas Cage?
I liked including them. I
Yeah,
liked
yeah,
including them. I thought it was cool.
yeah.
Um, I liked them including them. I liked them fighting the spider.
Right,
Uh, it was pretty cool. They had the suit right from
right.
when he did the footage there. No, I liked the Nicolas Cage thing. I think it was a good tip of the hat.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but then it made me be like, I guess you couldn't go too crazy
yeah.
because you didn't have Superman in the movie.
Right,
So you had George Reeves, you had Nicolas Cage, you
right.
had Christopher Reeves, you even had Henry Cavill was there. So like he wasn't
Mhm.
in the multiverse scene, but they
Right, right.
had they had a little fighting thing when he first went into the thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah.
so there was a kind of an over representation of Superman almost.
It was,
Um,
yeah.
I thought it would have been cool to see like Val Kilmer's Batman come in. I thought it
Right.
would have been cool.
Why
Like I
not?
thought that would have been. It would have been. Granted, you have to get the sign off for the likenesses and stuff. So maybe
Yeah.
Christian Bale is just like, I'm not. I don't want to do it. But it would have been cool to see his Batman pop up.
I mean, why not? We had George Clooney at the end. I mean, what the heck, man? I mean, this is an
No,
actor who's a great actor who's been on the
right.
record numerous times saying Batman Returns was one of the worst things he's done.
Yep.
I just would love to see how did you convince him to do this? Like, I mean, it was very quick, but still, like the fact that you got him to do that.
You know what I bet it was? I bet it was an opportunity for him to kind of poke fun at it. Because when
Yeah,
you saw George Clooney, everybody had the same reaction.
yeah,
Everybody was like,
yeah,
"What? Huh?" So like, I think
yeah.
it was funny. So what did you think about that first scene? Because I've seen some people with kind of different answers about what they felt about the first scene. What did you think about it?
So it opens up to Flash being impatient. That's something I haven't seen at all as far as Barry Allen. So I like that aspect of him. I like that they delved into that, right? Because I mean, you think about it, that makes sense. Somebody who is fast, gets irritated by people who move slow and don't move to his pace or anything.
Yeah.
I love that they acknowledge they are the Justice League. You hear that name dropped a lot. I thought the opening scene. So to take away this, if we take away the I thought the opening scene was good. So
Yeah.
as someone who knows Flashpoint, and for those who don't know Flashpoint, is good because in Flashpoint in the comic books, that's exactly how. And with the Flashpoint paradox, the animated Justice League movie, yeah, it starts off with Flash fighting somebody or doing something, and then
Yeah.
Batman is right there along, just whatever crisis is happening, they're tackling and they're good, and then it leads to Flash going back in time to save his mother. So I thought the opening was good. I love Batman's blue. Can he not turn his neck either? I
He
couldn't
couldn't do it
tell.
either. He couldn't do it either.
So
He couldn't turn
what?
his head either. No. But and like I said, so I said it in my review. The thing that bothers me the most is we had him in BVS able to turn his head, man. Like, just what are we doing?
Is that like a taboo? Like, don't let him turn his head or he ain't Batman. What?
No, I have. If you think about it, BVS he could turn his head. Justice League he couldn't. He couldn't turn his head in Justice League either.
Hmm. I'll have
And
to examine that.
so the people who did the BVS suits, I
Hmm.
can't remember the guy's name, but his studio is called Ironhead Studio.
Hmm. Hmm.
So like he was involved with like Batman Returns. He's been around a lot, man. He's done a lot of the stuff that you like. He did, I think he did the Black Panther mask. He did a lot of
Really?
different stuff. Yeah. So for whatever reason though, when it came to the suits for BVS, they didn't
Hmm.
really give him credit for it, right? They kept talking about the costume designer, but it was
Hmm.
really him. I got to get his name because I would hate not to give his name.
But he was pivotal in the turning of the head.
Yeah. So what happened is they wanted to be able to turn his name is Jose Fernandez. Jose Fernandez. They wanted
Fernandez.
him to be able to turn his head, but one of the reasons why Batman has never been able to turn his head in the movies is because
Hmm.
in order to give him the Batman silhouette, he's got to have that thick neck.
Hmm. I
And
didn't know
so
that.
so that kind of hinders them from being able to turn his head. Because if you think
Okay.
about it, if you go to the Dark Knight trilogy, he could turn
Hmm.
his head, but his neck looked this little.
You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in order to
I
keep
mean,
the bat silhouette, yeah, I would take the small neck and he can turn his head, then the
right,
thick neck
right.
be king.
That was
Um,
crazy. But
but they
I love
switched
the
from
movie.
him. Yeah, they switched from him, and he hadn't been. He's only had one movie he could turn his neck. Well, the Christian Bale stuff, but he's only
Right,
really
right.
one movie he could turn his neck, and it's like that bothers me, man. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
bro, we've been making Batman movies since 1980. I guess they started filming the first one in like 87, 88.
Right,
So
right,
we've
right,
been
right,
making
right.
joints for almost 40 years, and he can't turn his head.
Wait, can
Doesn't
Robert
follow.
Pattinson's Batman turn his head? He could,
Barely,
right? Just
barely.
a little bit, right?
He got a weird thing where he's always stiff like this. It's weird, man. Um,
Crazy. But
I will
the
say
opening
this.
was good. You know, Wonder Woman, I think that was just like let's just put her in there as a cameo. People were like they like seeing Wonder Woman apparently. I mean, I love Gal Gadot, you know, she's awesome.
Yeah,
Um I really was because I know we talked because I know Batman is like such a character who deserves to be represented correctly. But you were okay with the humor side, not Michael Keaton, but Ben Affleck, the whole lasso. I think that was almost an issue when Josh Whedon's Justice League came out and they had Aquaman sitting on a lasso, hitting on Wonder Woman and all of that. What was the difference between that and what happened with Batman when the
because he
lasso tree
wasn't.
touched him?
The thing that made the Aquaman thing was kind of gross to me because he
Okay,
gets the
okay,
lasso of truth, and then he just immediately starts hitting on Woman, just
gotcha.
immediately, oof,
All right,
talking and stuff, and it was like, man, that's corny. With
right.
Batman, I'm okay with Batman having some levity from time to time.
Mhm, mhm.
Especially for the movie that he was in. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's add some levity. Let's go. Now, I will be honest,
Mhm.
had it not been for the lasso, because when he first started and you didn't see the lasso connected to him, I didn't like it.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because the
Gotcha.
lasso was on him, I was like, okay, well, they explained it away, whatever, that's fine, cool. And it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
cool.
Okay.
But the rest of the time that Ben Affleck's Batman was on screen, he was
Hmm.
Batman.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
like classic representation of Batman.
yeah.
I wasn't really I didn't have a problem with it. If it would have been like the Joss Whedon Batman, where
Yeah,
every 2 seconds he was telling a joke and
yeah.
all of that stuff, and oh something's bleeding and all of that dumb stuff, then it's like okay, that's not Batman. I was
Gotcha.
okay with it being explained the way it is the last. So it lasted for 2 seconds, and he was really Batman for the rest of the time he was there. So I
Right,
wasn't
right. And I think the only note I have for the opening. So again, I'm removing CGI because we know the CGI was bad.
terrible,
But
terrible.
I looked at the whole scene and I thought, is this better than X-Men Days of Future Past when Quicksilver did his slow-mo speed
No,
action sequence, right? And it wasn't.
it
No,
was.
it wasn't. You know, I appreciate what they were trying to do. And I appreciate that they addressed the calorie thing because yeah, Flash burns so much energy. He gotta eat. Like if he's low, that's the
Yeah,
difference between life and death. So I really appreciated that part. But yeah, it just I think they could have done something else with it or more with it, you know. Then I start overthinking like, so out of this whole building crashing on this side, this was the only people in this building on this side that fell out the
I
window, a
thought about
woman
that
and some
too.
some
I thought about
babies.
that too.
Like,
I
okay,
thought
where
about that
everybody
too.
else at?
I thought about that too. When I went back to watch it, I meant to. I meant to pay more attention to what they were saying
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I can't remember if they said the only people left were the babies and that lady. I can't remember. I can't
Hmm.
remember if they said that or not. I had an issue with the opening scene. I liked it. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but when he put the baby in the microwave,
Oh yeah.
I was like, "That's an oven. That explosion didn't do anything."
You know what? You right. And then it still went off. So technically, how was they still able to go off? Like ding, like technically then that baby as it's in the microwave should have been fried, but
Yeah,
it's not plugged up. So I get that. But yeah, I had questions.
yeah. And I think to your point about the Quicksilver scene,
Yeah.
I don't think it was better than the Quicksilver scene in Days of Future Past. I liked it better than the Quicksilver scene in was it Apocalypse when he went to the mansion?
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
I think what I liked better about the first Quicksilver scene is that it was
Hmm.
him. There wasn't
Hmm.
any CGI. I mean, it was CGI, but it wasn't the noticeable kind. Like that CGI
Correct.
really took me out, bro. Like that CGI was really, really bad. It was
Yeah.
really bad.
Right. And we've
Um,
seen examples where CGI is good, just depending on who's doing it, right? I mean, you know, Marvel has a couple of movies that the CGI is good. Like, think about the first Iron Man. Like, we know that was CGI, but they were able to at least make it to where it wasn't. So my spectrum when it comes to CGI is Green Lantern. Because of the suit and everything. So if you can do better than Green Lantern, I think you're winning. And
you win.
with Iron Man,
Yeah.
they were winning. With Flash, I mean, it's teetering. It's literally
Yeah.
teetering. So
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. Hmm.
I think what happens with the CGI stuff is when because even Zack Snyder's CGI looked really good. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
so I don't know what it was about, man. Like it was really bad. It was the it was it was the thing about the movie that I just couldn't get over. I
Right.
really couldn't. Um, so but we agree the first scene was pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
Most part.
so,
Yeah.
so what did you think about um kind of once he went because the once he went back in time, right?
Hmm.
And he
Hmm.
was wherever he was,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I wasn't sure if that technically he went back in time at that point or if he had already crossed over. He had to already cross over to the other dimension because the Batman was different.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
my question was if he has already crossed over, oh, I'm wrong. The first time he went back in time, I think he went back in time. Dark Flash pushed him into a different dimension when he was coming back.
Right, right, because that was literally right after he changed things like the tomato can and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. His mama got, and then yeah, Dark Flash came as he was trying to go back. Then he punched him, and then he came into where the other Barry was 18 years. So it seems like 18 years had passed since then until the Dark Flash punched him out into
Yeah.
that to that realm. So for everybody in comic books knows that another Flash is not the case. And we even talked about this in an episode about time travel, right? Like if it's done right, then I can rock with it. This wasn't done wrong, but I just feel like it just Flashpoint, the comic book is so simple. He changes something, one significant thing. He saves his mother from being killed, and then everything else just changes. Like in the comic books, when he did that, it's almost like he blacked out as he traveled back to his place in
Right.
time, and then he woke up, and then he's like, okay, things are different. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, what's going on with this? I guess they for the movie purposes, for entertainment purposes, they had to do it. I'm like, I don't hate the two Flashes, but I don't think it was really necessary. But I will say this: Ezra Miller did a great job playing two personalities. Like that was great. Like you
Yeah.
can absolutely tell there's a difference between the other Flash and the real Flash.
Right.
Or I don't know, Flashpoint Flash, however you want to categorize them.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that was good. We might be jumping ahead, but my only gripe though with that is who killed his mother.
So this is what I think. I think it was still Reverse Flash.
Okay.
I think it was
Okay.
still Reverse Flash.
Okay.
But I think there were things that they had to do with this movie because of what
Mhm.
this movie is supposed to represent, right?
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
if you don't move forward with Ezra Miller's Flash, because here's the thing, you
Hmm.
still got to figure this stuff out.
Right,
right?
right,
Because you
right,
still got to figure out, well, why is George Clooney Batman? And
right, right.
how do we get out of that space? And you still got to figure that stuff out. Like, I think Dark Flash was created because this movie really didn't have a villain.
No, you're right.
This movie, like, really, the villain of this movie was like time and consequence.
Right.
Those were the villains. So, like, Dark Flash, I think that they kind of got put in a space where, if we don't continue this and we introduce
Mhm.
Reverse Flash and
Yeah.
we don't go any further, then we just wasted Reverse Flash on this movie that we didn't really need him.
Okay.
If they do continue and this is addressed again, because it's got to be addressed again, because we got to get him back to, if not the continuity he was a part of before, we got to get him to whatever the new stuff is, right?
Right, right, right.
Then we got to figure out that we got to learn who killed his parent, because they never even addressed it. They never. What made me
No.
think about that is, like, he said he thinks it was somebody that was waiting to break in, and the mom just happened to be there.
Right, right.
But he was too curious
Hmm.
not to be like, I want to know who killed my parent. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
So it just
right,
and I don't know. Obviously, I don't have any insight, but to me, the
right,
only
right,
thing that made sense was like, I'm not wasting Zoom on this movie if we don't go any further. You know what I'm saying?
right, right, right. I guess we'll
Um,
find out.
yeah,
But and you notice they switched the actors of his father.
yeah,
They
yeah, yeah,
switched them out, right?
yeah.
So I think that's another way of them trying to distance himself from the Snyderverse.
Well,
You
not
know.
really. So Billy Crudup, who was his father in the Snyderverse, he was signed up to do it, but he ended up. This movie has been in development for like 10 years.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
by the time it's time to film, he was already working on another movie, so he had to drop out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha.
I actually think they did a good job of kind of tipping the hat to Zack Snyder. Like, I hope. Look,
Well, yeah, because
you know,
it was Zod, Man of
yeah,
Steel
it
shot.
was his
Yeah,
universe.
right, right,
It was his
right.
universe. So,
That's
like,
fair. That's fair.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I hope one of the things that has irritated me so much about this Zack Snyder thing
Hmm.
is the legion of people that exist that um won't let things be. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right, right.
I'm a Zack Snyder fan, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would defend Zack Snyder when everybody was saying his movies are bad. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Um, but he's not the guy anymore.
True,
You know what I'm
true.
saying? Like, only
People
thing that
having a
matters.
problem
Yeah, it's
distancing
like
stuff from it. Yeah.
it's like how many of the people who, so I looked at the Rotten Tomato score for this movie. I think
Hmm.
critics rated it a 69%.
Hmm.
And the audience rated it, I think it's over 90% with the audience score.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a drastic difference, right? So my thing is,
Yeah.
like, anybody who's like, I'm not gonna like this movie because of it's not Zack Snyder, or
Hmm.
I'm gonna hate on Peter Safran and James Gunn because they're not Zack Snyder. It's like, dude, get a
Hmm.
life, man. Get a life. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me,
Yeah.
that's what makes the DC stuff really difficult to be successful at,
Hmm.
because if you're telling me you don't care if the movie's good or not, you're just gonna hate it because it's not Zack Snyder, then you're
Yeah.
I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can appreciate that stuff. I can say that Man of Steel is underrated. I can say that BVS was, even the Zack Snyder cut of BVS was really
Yeah.
just okay. Let's just be honest, right?
Mm.
It was really just okay.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, you still had terrible Lex Luthor. That didn't
Well,
change.
yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
still had, like, okay, Batman and Superman, their tension with each other is built in.
Hmm.
It's built
Hmm.
in. Their tension
Hmm.
is the way they do things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why do I need Lex Luthor to have this scheme to try to get them to fight each other? And then you start the movie by them having that tension that exists, right?
Hmm.
But the reason they're fighting is because Lex Luthor kidnapped Superman's mom. And it's like, wait a minute, Superman can't just take Lex out on this roof? Why is he sitting there letting him?
That's gonna be a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's
mean,
just
I have no rebuttal on that for now because I'm on the Flash. So, I mean, well, okay. So listen, so the tension is built in, right? And Lex, but see, I guess what it is, maybe neither one of them got the push needed in order to actually want to do something about it, to take action on each other. And I
right,
believe that's where Lex came in. Now, the whole rooftop thing, I mean, could Superman just left the rooftop and started X-raying, scanning for him? Maybe. But see, then you come into play where with Lex in the comic books, see, Lex Luthor is smart in the comic books, like literally smart because he's been in many positions where he has half of Metropolis is lined with lead as far as sewers and buildings because he knows
right,
Superman is going to do some stuff like that. You know,
right.
now maybe if they establish that in BVS, then I can understand them saying, that's why he stayed on the rooftop. There was no need for him to even try to. I mean, he still could have tried, but I mean, do I like BVS more than I like the Flash? Yes, absolutely,
See,
absolutely.
for me, BVS, the issues that I had with BVS existed with or without the Zack Snyder version. You
Okay,
know what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
I liked Flash better than I like BVS. It's not by much, but I
Mm-hmm.
liked it. I didn't like Flash better than I like Zack Snyder's Justice League. But BVS, the issues that existed in BVS, like I really truly
Yeah.
could not get over.
Okay. Okay.
And I think that ultimately, like even like you just said, Lex Luthor in the comics, but we established that this Lex Luthor is not the Lex Luthor from the comics.
Very true. Very true.
We already
Very true.
established that, right?
Very true.
So that like to me, even if you go look at like World's Finest, you remember World's Finest, the cartoon
Of course. Yeah.
version?
Of course. Of course.
It was still kind of the same thing where Lex Luthor was trying to pit them against each other. Or
Right.
they had to come together because Lex Luthor was doing the Lex Luthor and the Joker had joined forces. It's like, okay, if they got to come together at the end, that's fine. But like,
Hmm.
I don't know, man. That movie was, in my opinion, it was okay. It was okay.
Mm.
Um,
So, so what did you think about? So you obviously like Michael Keaton's portrayal in The Flash.
yeah, but I will say this: I don't think that was Batman from '89.
Why is that?
It was something about him that just didn't make me think that like it didn't. I don't know. Like I feel like Batman '89's universe when Tim Burton did it, and granted, time has passed, things changed, but when he
Mm.
did it, it was already established that Batman was it. Like
Mm.
it was his Gotham City, it was his world, it was his universe. He was the only superhero, and kind of
Right.
bringing in Zod and all of that other stuff. Like to me,
Mm.
Ben Affleck's Batman had
Yeah.
to in that situation because that's his world. I don't
Right.
think Michael Keaton's Batman has a shot, which we kind of saw what happened. But like, I don't know.
Mm.
For some reason, it just maybe I didn't like seeing him die. Maybe that was it. But like for me, I didn't think that was Batman '89. I don't think that was Earth '89.
Well, definitely in the comic books, as everybody knows, the Batman in Flashpoint is Thomas Wayne,
Mm-hmm.
because Bruce gets gunned down, and Thomas and Martha survive, and Martha, through the mental breakdown of losing Bruce, becomes the Joker in that universe. But that universe is never meant to last, which is the end result of Flashpoint. And so I think that part made sense to me
Yeah.
because that part I appreciated them sticking to that part as far as source material is concerned because I'm thinking like, are they really going to save this world? Because I don't know what to expect at this point. But
Yeah.
no, they kept trying, but like, no, the world is not supposed to be meant to be saved. You need to let your mama die. I mean, that's just facts, unfortunately. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate them sticking to that.
The thing that bothered me about that is
Mhm.
when they kept going back. So Supergirl gets killed, Batman gets killed,
Right. Well, she got defeated so easily.
which I wasn't mad at that though.
Hmm.
Then the reason I know Superman in Flashpoint and Flashpoint Paradox, he
Hmm.
came out and he was just let's go. He was
Right.
killing everybody. He was shutting it down.
Right. Right.
Her,
Right. Right.
I felt like she she wasn't supposed to be as powerful as Superman. She wasn't
Mhm.
supposed to be that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I to me it made sense that she couldn't defeat Zod. Like Zod is a like if you go back to Man of Steel,
Yeah.
Zod clearly says, I was born to do this. This is why
Right.
I created. This dude, you're not just waking up out this chamber
Hmm.
and has never had sunlight in your whole life. And then when you finally get some sunlight, you can take out this military because they come to Earth and have the same powers that you have.
Correct.
You know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Correct. And the difference between her and Superman is that Superman had the benefit of being raised as a
Correct.
baby all the way up until adulthood. So he had time to hone his abilities, know what he
Correct.
needs to do. I mean, the only new ability I saw that took place in Man of Steel that he didn't learn how to do was fly. But by that time, he knew about his strength, he knew about
Yeah.
his heat vision, all of that. And in fact, he exploited that the first go around with Zod by breaking the face mask. And then, I
Yep.
mean, obviously, so you definitely Supergirl was not this. Like she literally just started and she was
Yeah.
already tiring herself, which I definitely understood that. So that part I didn't have an issue with. I would have loved to expand more on her, but I get it because if you do that, then this will start feeling like this isn't the Flash movie. It's going to feel
Yeah.
like a Justice League
Yeah.
movie because we already have Michael Keaton having his screen time, rightfully so. And we already had Ben Affleck's Batman. Then we had
Yeah.
Wonder Woman do a shot appearance. And then we had that god awful post credit scene, which I don't understand what was that for, with Aquaman. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
they made it stay a Flash movie. I get it, and the humor was good because Flash is a goofball. He is the comic relief of the Justice League, so
Right.
I didn't have a problem with that. Do I think maybe they went too far? I mean, this depends. I mean, but I gotta say, and then we can go off or jump off. But let me ask you this then, because a lot of people who are putting comments out there and reviews about the Flash, some of them are saying that they couldn't separate Ezra Miller's issues with the movie, and that's what tainted the movie for that. Did you have that type of experience at all?
Zero.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay.
Look, man, Bill Cosby is still one of the greatest comics of all time.
All right.
R. Kelly is still the king of R&B,
All
and
right.
Ezra Miller did a good job. Now,
Yeah.
if you can't separate that, I'm not gonna. Cool, I
Mhm.
understand. But when I went to watch this movie, I didn't have those issues.
Right.
Um,
Right.
to the point of did they overdo it with the comedy
Hmm.
aspect of, you know why I say no? I say
Okay.
no because they had Young Barry and Old Barry.
Yeah.
And Old Barry actually grew up a lot. And a lot of it was because he was surrounded by himself as a younger person.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he even when he was talking to him and he was like, you never shut up and all this other stuff and you think you're cool and that, and then he was like, oh, now I understand what everybody is saying.
Yeah. Hmm.
So to me, it was like, okay, well they're allowing him to be a straight man and show maturity, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so then, but if they didn't have if they had one Ezra and
Hmm.
he was just goofy the whole time, then it would
Hmm.
have been much. But because they had him there as a straight man, I didn't have an issue with that.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
only issue I had with the fight when they kept going back in time, I was like, why don't y'all go before y'all even get there?
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Like, hey man, this ain't looking good. We need to figure something out. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But um, yeah, the end credit scene, like a lot of that stuff, I didn't understand just because I don't know how this fits into the new thing. Like, I think they've, I think Aquaman is gonna stick around because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, if I'm not wrong, the Aquaman 2 takes place after the Flash, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think Gal Gadot is gone. I think that's why they showed her and Ben Affleck before he went back in time, and Aquaman after he came back and ended up in a different universe. So
Gotcha.
that's got to get straightened out.
That makes sense.
Um, but the truth of the matter is, like, man, when the credits rolled and I was sitting there,
Yeah.
even after the second time, I was like, I really like that movie. Like the
Yeah.
CGI aside, that was trash.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah.
And superhero filmmakers, Marvel, DC, whoever you are, because Marvel got some trash out there too with the CGI.
That's fair.
Stop
Yeah.
doing that.
She
Stop.
Hulk. Right.
I'll give that a pass because it was TV, but it's like some of this stuff is like, look, man, it is not enjoyable. It takes you out of the movie.
It does.
Um,
It does.
but man, I think again, my initial fresh out of the theater, came straight home and did a reaction or review. I gave it a 9.2. That was really high. It's probably down closer to about like an 8.5, 8.4, somewhere around in there.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8. I was at a 7 originally, but after I
Yeah,
watched the
yeah,
second time, and I did just took out the comic book mentality. I give it a 7. I mean an 8 because yeah, the CGI again was horrible, but at the end of the day, the plot was good. The plot was
yeah,
good. Barry Allen was Barry Allen, and let's just find out where we're gonna go from here with the DC universe. Just
yeah,
please, if you're gonna do George Clooney, please make it good. If you're not gonna do George Clooney, let me know because I'm out here in the limbo. I just want to know the direction. Where are we
yeah,
going with this? That's all
yeah.
I want to know. That's
I
it.
agree. I agree. I agree.
That's
I
it.
agree. So,
That's it.
all right. So, listen, that is our spoiler review of The Flash. Let us know what you think below in the comments. Um, did you like it? What didn't you like about it? Hey, tell us what your score is. All right. So, with that being said, thank you so much. We'll see you
Oh,
next time.
oh, and I'm going to start an online petition to get the ball rolling for Nicolas Cage's Superman. Let's get it. Let's make it happen. Come on.
Nicolas Cage is 60 years old, bro. It's a wrap.
Okay. All right. All right.
All
Peace
right,
out.
peace.
Yeah.